Bo, don't go in there unless you're gonna put those clothes away. You're so funny. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to talk about a really important topic today, something that gets brought up a lot in the realm of flexible dieting and counting calories and macros and what should I do or should I do both. So pretty simply put, just why track macros and not just calories. So the bottom line is most weight loss or weight gain comes down to calories in, calories out. That's a really simplified way of talking about your total daily energy expenditure, which is all of the things that you do in the day to burn energy, versus how much you're eating and drinking and how much you're taking in. So like I said, most basic terms for either weight loss or weight gain is if you consume less than you burn, so your energy output, you will lose weight. And conversely, if you eat more than you exercise or expend your energy, then you will gain weight. If you are just tracking your calories, you're not being as specific as you potentially could be. If you are tracking macros, you're paying attention to both your macronutrients and your calories, which are going to be even more beneficial. So as much as a calorie is a calorie, if you eat a diet based around your specific macro needs, it's going to allow you to achieve your performance and your physical goals more effectively and efficiently. So our macronutrients, as a quick reminder, are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Think of macronutrient as big macros, so they're the ones that you need the most of in your diet. So we'll go ahead and talk about each of them individually first. So protein is going to be first. Protein is something that we all talk about all the time. How do you get enough protein? I mean, I'm a vegan person, so people ask me how I eat enough protein or where my protein comes from all the time. But even your average person probably isn't getting an adequate amount of protein for their specific goals. Now, as humans, we don't actually need as much protein as we're said to need if you listen to like the fitness and health people. But again, if your goal is muscle gain, muscle retention, repair, all of that, then you do need to be eating maybe a little bit more protein than the average person. So consuming a diet that's sufficient in protein, like I said, it helps support lean mass retention, especially when you're in a calorie deficit. So if you are in that caloric deficit where you're trying to lose weight, eating an adequate amount of protein is going to help retain your musculature so you don't get like skinny fat, I guess. Protein is a very satisfying macro, meaning that eating a higher protein diet is going to help curb hunger, especially, again, while you're in that caloric deficit. So it's going to help keep you full longer. And protein also has a very high thermic effect. So our body actually takes a lot of energy to break down protein, again, which is going to benefit your total daily energy expenditure. The other thing is protein contains essential amino acids. And like I said, that's going to help your muscles grow and repair over time. The second macronutrient, and probably the most polarizing macronutrient, is carbohydrates. Very simply, carbohydrates are the macronutrient that your body uses most for energy. So that's the one that your body wants to use. And for athletes that compete in endurance sports or high volume training, carbohydrates are going to help replenish your glycogen stores that get depleted. That is going to help fuel your workout and supports better recovery. That's why a lot of times you'll hear people talking about having a protein shake with some quick carbohydrates pretty quickly after their workout. There are supplements for that, or you can just eat carbohydrates. Either one of them are going to be beneficial to you. But that is what they're doing, is they're trying to replenish those glycogen stores that deplete those carbohydrates while you are training. Carbohydrates are, like I said, very polarizing because some people feel very passionately either for or against them. Those are just the basic terms of what carbohydrates do, and I will not get into how much I love carbohydrates. The last macronutrient, and again, kind of a polarizing macronutrient, is our fats. Now, fats are important for a number of reasons. But one of the big one is fats actually support our micronutrients so much. So vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, they all need sufficient dietary fat in order to be properly absorbed by our bodies. Omega fatty acids like EPA and DHA are going to help support our joint health, cardiovascular health, and our digestion. And then the last thing is it's going to keep your hair and your nails strong, skin glowing, so it has all of those benefits as well. And again, it can be a polarizing macro because some people are very into high fat diets, some people are into very low fat diets, but again, that's just basically what they do for you. So to start from the top, if you're tracking your macronutrients, you're also tracking your calories because each macronutrient has its own amount of calories associated with it. Protein, 1 gram of protein has 4 calories, 1 gram of carbohydrates also has 4 calories, and then 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. That's why a lot of times when you see, people's macronutrient breakdown of like X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, X amount of fat is pretty generally going to be a lower number because it is more calorically dense. So when you're looking at your intake as a whole, when you're looking past your total, if you look past your total calories, this allows you to tailor a diet to your needs and your goals. So, for example, I'm a highly active person. I train 3 to 5 times a week. I have a relatively active job. I do work at the gym, so I'm coaching. I talk with my hands a lot. I happen to live on the second floor, so I walk up and down stairs several times a day. So my daily energy expenditure might be a little bit higher than somebody who's my same size but works a 9 to 5 job and maybe doesn't exercise regularly. So even though that caloric allotment might be similar, I'm burning more energy. And on top of that, it depends on your goals too. So if your goals are to lose weight, you want to be eating in more of a caloric deficit. And then again, talking back to our protein, if you're looking for muscular build, if you're looking for that, kind of lean look, you want to still be eating a higher protein diet. Now imagine if you wanted that really lean look, but you weren't eating enough protein. That's where we don't see a lot of muscle definition. We see kind of that just like thin frame, which is not always a bad thing. But again, if you're trying to, depending on your goals, if you are trying to look a little bit more muscular, you want to have a diet that's higher in protein. If you're an endurance athlete, if you run 10 miles several times a week, you're maybe going to want to have a higher carbohydrate diet than somebody who doesn't do that. So that can be something that's specified for you also with your macros. So starting from the top, if you look at macros versus calories, luckily, if you are tracking your macros, you're already tracking your calories because each macro has its own caloric allotment. So 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, 1 gram of carbohydrates is 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So if you are tracking your macronutrients, you're already tracking your calories. So the two go hand in hand. Now, what the difference is about tracking your macros versus just tracking your calories is you can tailor your diet better to what your goals are, what your lifestyle is, and then potentially see more efficient and effective results from that. For example, if you are a weightlifter, you want to have a diet that's going to support that, right? So you want to eat a higher amount of protein than somebody who maybe is an endurance athlete who runs, several miles every day, who might need a higher carbohydrate diet because they're depleting more of those energy stores, and they might have like a leaner frame. And then somebody who's just your average Joe, maybe they work out a few times a week, not specifically training for anything, you can set up your macros across the board to be more evenly split. So about, 33% protein, 33% carbohydrates, and 33% fat. So if your goal is more general health, if you eat, sufficient amounts of each macronutrient, maybe like a 33%, 33%, 33% split, it's going to also help you consume a variety of micronutrients. So if somebody is, maybe they have a goal or maybe they're just focusing on general health, whatever it might be, if you're eating a diet that's really, really high in carbohydrates and really, really low in protein, without knowing it because you're not tracking, you might not be getting all of those micronutrients that you might be needing from your protein sources. You might be getting a lot from your carbohydrate sources, but you're missing out from your protein sources. So if you're just looking for general health, eating a similar amount, what we call like an isocaloric diet, so similar of each amount of macros, that's going to help you hit your goals while eating a variety of those foods, so you're getting more of those micronutrients in. Not only that, but when you're eating a more balanced amount of your macros and not so much more of one or the other, making sure that you're getting enough fiber in your diet is also really important. So if you're eating, let's say, a really high amount of protein and like no carbohydrates, you're probably not getting a lot of fiber in your diet. So when you set it up across the board for a little bit more even of each, most of my clients start around 30% protein, 40% carbohydrates, and 30% fat, just kind of depending on where they are, but that's a pretty common one. They're then getting more fiber probably than they were before. So to sum it up, you can absolutely count your calories and see success from that, whether you're eating in a deficit or a surplus or just trying to eat at maintenance. Just counting your calories can be really beneficial, but if you take it a little step further and count your macronutrients as well and pay attention to consuming the right amounts of each of those things, you're going to potentially hit your goals a lot more effectively, a lot more efficiently, and it's a diet that's going to be better tailored to your exact needs. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.